You were in the locker room after the game. Did you see Kyle and Brock at Brock's locker?
Yes.
Okay.
As Shanahan described, creeping. There were people creeping around behind him. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Before we say what we saw, can we talk about what Kyle said? He was asked about it today. Jennifer Lee Chan asked, and he said, "Oh, I didn't know the media was there." It was all of the media. He didn't know. He was just talking to. They always talk. We were just talking. Okay. Yeah. All right. But the question was, what were you talking about? And he didn't say. So my question to you, Larry, is what do you think? Let's just do total wild speculation. What do you think Kyle Shanahan was talking to Purdy about?
I really believe that it was probably about what he saw on the last pick. And probably Kyle said to him right there, hey, Brock, you need to take the sack. You need to take the sack. I think it was Karlaftis. I think Karlaftis had beaten McKivitz, and he was in on Purdy, and he forced Purdy to throw the ball. But guess what? You don't have to throw the ball there. The receiver was bracketed. There were defenders on both sides. You needed the field goal there. You needed 2 scores anyway. So guess what? Take the sack and get the field goal and keep the game going. Don't try to make a play there. I think that if I was guessing, that's the play that they were discussing. And he did also talk about it today. Shanahan did mention it today. So I just feel, and I knowing, I don't know Shanahan, but just getting a sense of Shanahan, I get the feeling that the last mistake is the one that's top of mind, or the most severe mistake. And to me, that was the first one was he could have thrown 5, by the way. I watched the rewatch again today. Nick Bolton batted that ball into the air. That easily could have been picked. There was another ball that Ayuk got a penalty on McDuffie. That easily could have been picked. I mean, the ball was thrown in harm's way at least 6 or 7 times. And they wound up with 3 picks. But it could have been 4 easy. Could have been 5 easy. So I think the most egregious was the final one, because they needed 2 scores. They would have gotten a score. They were right there. But I don't know how Brock felt about that. About that whole discussion. But he seemed to be open-minded to it. But I think Shanahan was verbally scolding him for not taking the sack there, and just told him, hey, you need to take the sack there. That was points. That was the game, or at least the game would have continued from that point if we had gotten the field goal. And we didn't get the field goal because you felt the pressure and you let it go. But you got to know the situation to take the sack there and kick the field goal. So that would be my guess. What would be your guess?
Well, so here's the thing. Like, Kyle says he didn't know we were there. He was kind of whispering, so he knew we were there. He didn't want us to hear.
He's done it before. He does it all the time. He
didn't know media in the post-game press locker room. Okay. And so I'm going to do an impression of what he looked like. We couldn't hear what he was saying, but this is, to me, what he looked like. And if you're listening on podcast, I'm gesticulating. This is what he looked like. A lot of throwing his hands up. And then Purdy, this is what Purdy looked like. Just a lot of nodding his head. I mean, one guy looked kind of like frustrated, as would be an understatement. And the other guy looked like, I'm not going to say humiliated, but like a guy who was, getting criticized in front of people, and that's uncomfortable. Yeah. That's what it looked like to me.
I think you probably pegged it. I mean, I think we probably guessed right. He probably was talking to him about the last turnover, and it was like, hey man, you can't do that. You can't throw that pick there. You have to take the sack there. You can't turn it over there. So that would be my guess. That'd be my guess.
Have you ever seen Kyle do that?
I have seen him sit down there.
I've seen him sit down there after wins. I've seen him sit down with Nick Mullins there and kind of put his arm around the guy, like, man, go over the good plays. But after a loss, to walk right in there and then tell people like, oh, I didn't know you were watching. It's like, ooh, I don't know about that. You're also the guy who made that big deal about Brandon Ayuk's shorts in front of the media. It seems like you kind of like getting dramatic sometimes. I don't know. I think he didn't know we were there.
At the end of the day, I don't think Kyle Shanahan gives a shit. I don't think he cares. I don't think he cares if he does it in front of us or if it's behind the scenes. Would he rather have it be behind the scenes? Sure. But he's okay. He's okay. I think Brock has got mental maturity of like the Alex Smith level. So he's a very bright, mature guy, and he's also very accountable. I will say this. I mean, Brock doesn't dodge. He doesn't dodge.
Do you think he cares that Kyle did that publicly instead of privately?
I think if you asked him, I bet you he would prefer that he didn't do that privately, but I don't think it's a deal breaker or something that I'd be shocked if Brock, who's kind of an old school guy and a very kind of like, I can take it kind of a guy. I think he's probably okay with it. I don't know that I would have been okay with it, but I don't think I would have been okay with it either. Brock's a lot more confident than I am, probably.
Yeah.